Hey, good morning, everybody. How's it going? What's up? What's up? It's 3 o'clock in Ireland. Oh my goodness. Well, it is definitely morning here in California. It is only 7 a.m. I used to work at Slumo Institute. I left there some time ago. Hey, how are you? You don't have to be sorry. There was no problem. I left because I wanted to. I wasn't like, whatever. I just have to say my kids are excited for Reptar. Your kids know about Reptar? You're raising some good kids. Your kids know about Reptar? That's fantastic news. That means you're doing a good job, Mama. How old are your kids? Where's my Beetlejuice cup? I forgot it was in the dishwasher. It is in the dishwasher. You're right, Becca. You are correct, Miss Becca. You win a prize. What do you want your prize to be today, Becca? What's going on with my hair, do we think? Oh, yeah, they love Backstreet Boys, and they don't know. That's funny. They love the Backstreet Boys, and they don't know who NSYNC is. Someone's raising their kids right. If I can ask, I've never been to America, and I don't know anything about America. Okay, no worries. No one would require you to know anything about America. It's it's whatever it is. They're 11 and 13, killing it, killing the game. Yes. Becca knew that my cup was in the dishwasher. How's everyone doing this morning? How is everyone today? Amanda is apparently the type of mother that I aspire to be. Her kids like Rugrats and Backstreet Boys, and she likes slime, so, you know. Telling you, socks in the linen closet. Yep. I put lemon in my water this morning, y'all. I'm trying to be like that healthy person, you know? We'll see. Oh, no, I'm being serious, Amanda. That is the type of mother I aspire to be. Yeah, it actually wasn't. She put it in the dishwasher herself. Your cousin's going to Harvard. Oh, you know what? Harvard's not very close to the slime place, unfortunately. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. It's a couple of hours away. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, sweetheart. You know what? I don't eat breakfast, Lanita Ray. I don't do breakfast. And I definitely don't do Starbucks. I make all my coffee at home. I drink aloe vera with lemon and lime. So that sounds good. Oh, it's not a shame. I mean, the distance, you mean, or the breakfast thing? The breakfast thing was a joke. I was joking because that person's a troll. If you're talking about the distance thing, then yes, it is a shame. I agree with you. If you're talking about the breakfast thing, that was a joke. I love breakfast. I really do eat breakfast, and I absolutely adore breakfast, and don't be sorry about that. That person was just a troll, and they were trying to get me to say something off color, and I'm not going to, so I joked right back at them and said that I don't eat breakfast, which is a lie. A lie. I love breakfast. I love breakfast. Boop, 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 boop. Breakfast foods are some of my favorites. I had breakfast for dinner last night. I'm not even going to lie to you. I really did. I have 2 cups, which is inconvenient because I only have 2 hands. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Yeah, no, I mean, I love breakfast. Can't afford to break the washer. No. No. Okay. How am I going to do this? I woke up at 3 p.m. today because I went to bed at 5:20 a.m. Yikes. Okay, hold on. I have to put you guys down for a second so that I can put these cups down. Hold on. Just trying to be helpful. I'm not allowed to do laundry. What, are you cosplaying my mother, Becca? Are you being my mother right now? You like to switch up your coffee creamers? That's cool. Good morning. In case anyone's wondering, Becca is playing the role of my mother this morning. Your birthday's in 5 days. Well, happy birthday. Hey, Justina. Did I tell you guys what happened over the weekend with my mother and the washer? Did I tell you guys this or did I not? I can't remember if I told you this. Did I tell you what happened this weekend? I don't even remember if I did. I need to get ready for work, but Goose is laying on me. Oh no, you're sick. Oh no. You drank coffee today? Oh my gosh. You drank coffee today? Are you okay? So this weekend my mom came with her laundry as usual, and she gave me the laundry to do, and I said, is it all ready to go in? And she said yes, by which I mean, like, I always want her to tell me how she wants it split up, like blah, 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 and all these other things, because I shouldn't be in charge of, like, deciding which of her items get washed with which. I throw all my stuff in together. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't even sort because there's no point anymore. Like, we've reached a point with soap and things that most things can go in together. Like, I'm wearing a pair of black pants that I put in with my white sheets yesterday, and they're all fine, you know? But she likes things split, so I asked her to split them. Fine. What is your tumbler cup? My tumbler cup was a gift from Becca and made by Renee. Isn't it cute? It's like slime rainbow bright. So cute. So I get, I'll cosplay your mom. Here's my laundry. Okay, great. So I'm doing my mom's laundry. And when I get her last load of laundry out of the dryer to give back to her, when I opened the door of the dryer, a pen flew out at me. And I was like, oh no, clearly she didn't check her pockets. And when I pulled the clothes out of the dryer, there were multiple pens in there, and they had all busted open. And not only were they all over all of the clothes in there, it had also stain marked the inside of the dryer with ink. Yeah. So I had to practically crawl into the dryer with little cotton balls of rubbing alcohol to get all the ink off, so that when it reheated up the ink, when I used the dryer the next time, it wouldn't get ink on my clothes. Oh, it was 100% all her. She admits that it was her fault that she left pens in one of her pockets, because I always tell her, prep your stuff. I'm not checking your pockets. I'm not sorting your clothes, you know, whatever, you're a grown woman. She knows it's her fault, and she's okay. She wasn't mad. She threw most of the clothes out because what were you going to do with them at that point? You know, like ink stains. It wasn't Becca cosplaying your mom that did it. No, it was not Becca cosplaying my mom. But like I had to like scrub the inside. I looked up online how to clean ink out of a dryer, so I didn't just do this willy-nilly. I like paid attention, because they were like, you have to use rubbing alcohol or nail polish remover to get the ink off, but then you have to wash it out, because if you heat up the dryer with ink on the inside of the dryer, it could ignite because it's very flammable. So you have to make sure you thoroughly wash it off after, and like all this stuff. I was like, it was an exercise in patience, y'all. It was an exercise. Same thing happened to my dad. Blue ink pen in his pocket and got all over the washer. Yep. It didn't get all over the washer. It only got all over the dryer. It busted in the dryer. Yep. Cole does that mostly with his work clothes, but he has black uniforms. Yeah, she has a lot of black clothes that she was able to keep, but her white lab coat for work, nope. Becca, I understand your sentiment about wanting to make whoever did it clean it, but the problem with that is that I would have to check the work anyway and likely redo it. So it's just my philosophy is always, why redo a job when I could just do it right the first time, you know? I probably just should have checked the pockets myself. Thought hairspray gets out ink. It could get out ink, but it would also be flammable, so we'd still have to wash it. I don't know. That's the last thing you need any day, let alone this past weekend. What happened this past weekend? Did something happen that I'm forgetting? Did something bad happen and I'm not remembering something bad happened? Oh, Mom was here. We had Easter. Zoe was not sleeping well. Oh, dinner, yeah. Gets ink out from clothes. Oh, maybe, I don't know, but it was a lot. It would have taken a lot of work to get it out of this. We're not talking about like little tiny dots. We're talking about like hand size things. That's issues with the kids or mine, so I'd rather they redo it. Oh yeah, well yours are kids. This is not a child. If it was a child, of course, you have to teach them. Yes. But, you know, yeah, if it had been like little tiny stains, I probably would have tried to get it out. I offered to try to get it out for her on the lab coat specifically, not the bed sheet that she ruined, but the lab coat, because I knew she needed her lab coat, but she has multiple, so she was like, whatever, don't even bother. I was like, okay, because it was big stains, big stains. Anyway, enough about that. Do we want to read some Land of Stories this morning? We need a little bit more light in here, just a smidge. You said it, not me, Becca. Maybe vinegar gets it out. I doubt it, but you know. Max has a lab coat. It's giant because it's real, but it's cute. That is cute. That is cute. Max is probably going to be my mom's size soon. She's tiny. You know, she's like 5'1", try cornstarch. I woke up to yet another set of comments this morning, like 10 of them, that all said, you forgot cornstarch. I'm like, give up the ghost, guys. Give up the ghost. Actually, you know what's really funny? There were a group of people commenting on one of the friends' iceberg slimes saying that they thought I had beef with cornstarch, which was really funny. And I commented back to them very politely and I just said, hey, wait till you hear Joey and then decide if you think I have beef with cornstarch. And one of the girls from that conversation actually came to the Joey video and she was like, I'm so sorry. You were right all along. My bad. And I was like, cool. Thanks. I appreciate you. Like, it was a nice moment where she was like, I should have withheld judgment. I was like, all good, man. All good. Because she listened. She was like, you're right. The white glue slime without the cornstarch objectively had the best pop. I was like, I know. And she was like, I didn't see that coming. That's okay. That's why we do these, you know, so you can see. I was like, that's okay. Max is 82. He's always been 2% out of 10 on the charts. I tagged you in someone saying that you have beef with cornstarch. Yeah, I think that's the one. But she came back and she apologized. I was like, all good, man. I know. Well, because when I commented to her, I was just like, hey, just wait till you hear Joey. Like, don't make a decision yet. That's all I said to her. I didn't, like, go at her or anything. I was just like, just wait for Joey. Wait for Joey. And she did. So, good on her. Okay. Let's read chapter 13, A Wolf Pack. Excuse me. Nope. A wolf packed. A wolf packed with a T. It's very important. Not a wolf pack. There was blood everywhere. White feathers and bits of wood covered the ground. A driver had been transporting a cart full of geese into the northern kingdom when the big, bad wolf pack attacked. The only thing that remained in one piece was the green, floppy hat that the driver had been wearing. The wolves were spread out under the trees, chewing on the bones of their victims. Malamja jerked his head up and stared into the trees. Someone was coming. He could smell them. Whoever this person was, their scent made him anxious. We've got company, Malamcaw growled. All the wolves jumped to their feet, ready to attack again if they had to, but they were no match for who was approaching. A dark, hooded figure slowly moved through the trees and up to the wolves. It stood fearlessly in front of them for a moment before unveiling itself. Hello, Malamclaw, said the evil queen. Who are you?
Malumclaw barked. The woman before him, less than half his size, was making the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. You don't know me, but you know of me, the Evil Queen said. Everyone does. It's the Evil Queen, a wolf snarled. Malumclaw began shifting his weight onto his front paws. He was intimidated, and he didn't like it. You have a lot of nerve approaching my pack, he said. I should have one of my wolves rip your throat out. I dare you, the Evil Queen said. There wasn't an ounce of fear in her body. She walked closer to them, and the wolves cowered back, Malumclaw included. What do you want from us? He demanded. I've come to make a deal, she said. We don't make deals, Malumclaw growled. You will, once you know what I have to offer, the Evil Queen said. This intrigued the wolf. What kind of a deal? He asked. A trade, the Evil Queen said. There are 2 children traveling through the kingdoms, 1 boy and 1 girl, twins. I want you to find them and bring them to me unscathed. You want children? Malumclaw mocked. They have something, several things actually, that I need, the Evil Queen said. I would do it myself, but I'm indisposed at the moment. And if we bring them to you, what will you give us in return? He asked. When you bring them to me, I shall give you the one thing you want more than anything else in the world, the Evil Queen said. Malumclaw laughed. Wolves want for nothing, he said. The Evil Queen stared at him as if she were looking into his soul. Is that so? She asked. Then why do you and your pack crusade around the lands, terrorizing everything in your path? What are you trying to prove? Whose revenge are you seeking? Malumclaw was silent. He couldn't deny it. I will give you the one thing that will avenge your father's death wholly, the Evil Queen said. I will give you Queen Red Riding Hood in exchange for the twins. All the wolves, including Malumclaw, growled their doubts, but the idea was intriguing to him. How could you possibly do that? The Evil Queen looked at him so sternly that his heart began to race. Do not question me. I will have the young queen in my possession by the end of the week. Bring me the children, and I will hand her over to you. Do we have a deal or not? Malumclaw looked at the frightened members of his pack. They nodded at him. They didn't want to upset the queen. Deal, Malumclaw said. But let me warn you, if you fail to keep your end of the bargain, we'll snap your neck like a twig. The Evil Queen walked up to the wolf and stood inches from his face, looking him forcefully in the eye. Let me warn you, she said. Fail to keep your part, and I'll have you all turned into rugs, just as Red Riding Hood did to your father. And if you threaten me again, I'll skin you myself. Malumclaw froze. The Evil Queen knew she had him exactly where she wanted him. See you soon, she said. She put her hood back over her head and disappeared into the trees in the direction she had come from. All the wolves stood still for a moment, afraid to move. Well, what are we waiting for? Malumclaw shouted, his pride bruised. We have twins to find. They charged into the horizon, howling in unison. The sound was deafening. Okay? She ain't messing around. No. Not messing around. Wow. That was the whole chapter. Just like that in a snap, right? Chapter 14. The Sleeping Kingdom. For the love of goodness. Really? More of you people? More of you people? Why? Why do you bother? It's not worth it. Go away. Yeah, it was a quick chapter. It was a real quick chapter. We probably could have finished that chapter yesterday and then had more today, but it is what it is. We're going to read this. This could be This should be a series like Once Upon. It should absolutely be a series. I completely agree with you. This is such a fantastic series. Blown away. Bye-bye, person. Bye-bye. Thank you for riding Magic Carpet Airlines. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you. Goodbye. Sorry. I really love Robin Williams. Okay. Let's read about the Sleeping Kingdom. Trix insisted that Alex and Connor stay with her the night after the trial. Of course, that meant that the twins slept on the ground underneath her birdhouse-sized home hanging from a tree branch, but it was a kind gesture nonetheless. Alex and Connor couldn't sleep after seeing the walking fish in person. They laid under the stars of the fairy kingdom, most of which were actually just fairies sleeping in midair, and they let their thoughts wander. I always thought that the walking fish was one of Dad's stories that he made up himself, Alex said. I wonder how he heard about it. There will never be a better genie. I completely agree. You met him? Oh my God, you are mega lucky. As far as I'm concerned, and this might be a controversial opinion, I don't actually acknowledge any other genies other than Robin Williams. I know that others have done it. I refuse to acknowledge them. That is all. Probably the same way he heard all the other stories that come from this place, Connor said. But then why wasn't it as well known as Cinderella or Snow White stories? Why wasn't it written in the land of stories? Alex said, and then asked the question that had been on her mind for a while. Do you think that Dad or Grandma were ever here? Do you think they traveled to the land of stories and never told us? Connor had to think about it. The idea had crossed his mind once or twice before, considering that the land of stories had been in their grandma and dad's possession before their grandma had passed it on. Could they just have been as easily transported into this world as Alex and Connor had? And if they had, how had their dad and grandma managed to find their way home? I don't think so, Connor ultimately decided. They love fairy tales so much. If they got here and saw everything we see, I doubt that they would have left. The next morning, Trix generously thanked them again and again, and after they shared goodbyes, the twins started their journey into the next kingdom. Why do I have a feeling that the spindle is going to be the most difficult item to get? Connor said. Alex opened the journal to see if her brother's prediction was true. The spindle that pricked the Sleeping Beauty's finger was the easiest item for me to collect. I had no prior plan of acquiring it, and it simply pleaded my case to the queen, and she was very sympathetic. She let me take the spindle on the condition that I would return it to her once I was finished using it. Queen Sleeping Beauty is very wise, especially for someone who's been asleep for a century, and I believe that she knew more about what I was after than she was willing to admit. Well, that's lucky, Connor said. I wonder what sleeping for 100 years does for you. Every morning when I wake up for school, after about the 4th or 5th time I hit the snooze button, I always think that I could sleep for 100 years. I wonder if you'd wake up super refreshed or if you'd still be drowsy. It's an interesting thought, Alex said. I wonder if she dreamed about anything. I assume it would have been a very long dream. The twins had no money left, but claiming to be separated from their parents, they managed to convince 2 drivers transporting a cart of goats to let them ride along into the Sleeping Kingdom. The twins didn't mind sitting in the back with the goats, but the goats weren't thrilled about sharing with the twins. What are you looking at? Connor said to one of them after it stared at him for a good half an hour. The road that ran along the side, a great sparkling ocean with water as blue as the sky. It was like the ocean in their world, except 1,000 times more vibrant. Look how beautiful the ocean is here, Alex said. And look over there, it's Mermaid Bay. She was referencing a large bay just ahead that curved up along the shoreline. It's pretty neat to know right now that where we're sitting in this cart, there are actually mermaids swimming down there, Alex said. Alex was flipping through the journal, making a list in her head. We have 5 items to collect, she said. All we need are the spindle, the jewels from Snow White's coffin, and the saber from the deepest sea. Whatever that might be, Connor said. Alex longingly stared out at the water. What could the saber from the deepest sea be? With all her fairy tale knowledge, she still couldn't figure out what it was, and it was starting to get to her. She was hoping that any minute it would just appear in the middle of the ocean. Well, we'll figure it out, Connor said. Or should I say, you'll figure it out and I'll pretend that I've helped. After they'd been on the road a bit, the twins couldn't help but eavesdrop on the conversation the drivers were having. Did you hear about the news from Charming Kingdom? One of the drivers asked the other. No, he said. Both of Queen Cinderella's glass slippers have been stolen. The driver said. Stolen? By who? I don't know. I reckon there is a reward for anyone with information, though, he said. The twins didn't know how to react to this news. If the kingdom was claiming the slippers had been stolen, had Cinderella or Sir Lambton not put the slipper in their bag? Was there a warrant out for their arrest? And then, the most troubling question of all, if they had one of the slippers, who had the other? Both were stolen? Alex whispered to her brother. It has to be the woman we saw in Red Riding Hood's castle, Connor said. She must be collecting for the wishing spell, too. I knew it. Let's just hope we get to the spindle before she does, Alex said. The road turned away from the ocean and the cart headed north into the Sleeping Kingdom. It was a very hilly place surrounded by towering mountain ranges. It was a surprisingly dismal land, although the twins weren't sure what that they had expected. All the fields were dry and the trees were bare. Everything seemed like it had been alive for a very long time. Why is everything dead? Connor asked. I don't think they're dead, Alex said. I think they're sleeping. Sleeping Beauty's castle was located in the corner of a village called Sleeping Valley, and once the twins arrived there and hopped off the cart, they understood how it had gotten its name. The entire village surrounding the castle looked deserted. The twins found a man standing behind the open window of a bakery. He was resting his head on his hand and his elbow on the windowsill. He was sleeping standing up. Excuse me, Alex said, not wanting to be rude and wake him up. Yes, the man said with his eyes still closed. Where is everyone? Alex asked. Resting, the man said with a yawn, and then began to snore. Sure enough, as the twins walked through the village, they could see many other shopkeepers and servants drowsily moving around inside the shops, slowly getting their work done. They all looked as if they were about to fall asleep any second. I thought the curse on the kingdom had been broken, Connor said. They don't seem to be sleeping because they have to. It looks like they're sleeping because they want to, Alex said. Alex and Connor walked through the sluggish town and found Sleeping Beauty's castle. The castle was a spectacular sight. It was the tallest structure the twins had ever seen. It was made from peach-colored stones, and its many tall towers soared into the sky, with the tallest in the very center. When the twins looked closely, they saw the residue left from the vines that had once grown up the sides of the castle walls. There were many vast gardens surrounding the castle, or at least there would have been if anything was alive. Gardeners slept in the garden, still clasping onto their tools. Every few minutes they would wake up and continue working, and then they would fall back asleep almost immediately. There were guards everywhere, but the twins effortlessly walked past them. Every once in a while, a guard would open an eye and consider saying something to them, but then decided to go back to sleep instead. They found the main entrance to the castle and entered. They walked down along the hall with soaring ceilings that led to the throne room. It had white pillars and checkered floors. The ceiling was painted the color of dusk with vivid pinks and oranges. Guards lined the entire room, and they were all entirely unconscious. Sitting on the throne ahead of them was a beautiful woman. She was speaking with two men. One was tall and handsome, and the other was short with an old white beard. The woman wore a tiara made of silver flowers and had long, flowing golden hair. She wore a thin gown a shade of pale rose and matching gloves. The twins knew without a shadow of a doubt that that was Sleeping Beauty. She was speaking with the royal advisor and her husband, King Chase. She looked troubled and in a state of deep contemplation. She was tired, too, like the twins' mother looked when there was a lot on her mind. Well, perhaps we should enforce the law. No sleeping permitted during the day, the advisor said. Absolutely not, Sleeping Beauty said. I will not enforce something so oppressive on my people. Let's not forget that this isn't their fault. The curse is over, Your Highness, the advisor said. It's time for the kingdom to wake up and see that. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the curse is upon us until the day the kingdom is exactly in the condition it was before the spell was cast, Sleeping Beauty said. I may be awake, but being asleep for 100 years has taken a toll on them. They shouldn't be punished or held accountable for any of this. Well, darling, you may have no choice, the king said, taking her hand in his. "The kingdom's falling apart. There are no crops being grown or business being done." "Let me think about this," she said, and let out a long sigh. May I make a suggestion?" Connor said, walking towards the trio. He took them by surprise. They didn't know anyone else was in the room conscious. Alex was a little scared. She had no idea what her brother was about to say. She hoped his speech in the fairy kingdom hadn't given him a big head. "Who are you?" the advisor asked. "I'm Connor. This is my sister Alex," he said. Alex awkwardly waved from behind him. "You have a lovely castle," she said. "How did you get in here?" King Chase asked. "Seriously?" Connor asked him, gesturing towards the sleeping guards behind him. "This isn't exactly Fort Knox." "They don't know what that is, Connor," Alex whispered. "Young man," the advisor said, "with all due respect, this is a very important matter we're discussing, and we've been trying to find a solution for years and still haven't come up with anything that doesn't take away basic human freedoms," Sleeping Beauty said. "So if this young man thinks he has an answer, I say we let him speak." The men didn't argue with her. Connor had the floor. "Have any of you ever had coffee before?" Connor asked. They stared blankly at him. "Never mind. I've been told it stunts your growth anyway," he said. "I fall asleep a lot in school. It's not my fault. My brain just turns off when it gets bored. A trick I discovered when I remember to use it is to wear a rubber band around my wrist and snap it when I feel myself starting to drift off to sleep. The sting keeps me conscious for a good 5 minutes guaranteed." They were puzzled by this proposal. "Look, it isn't rocket science solution, but it works," Connor said. "And your people could do it themselves, so you wouldn't be forcing them into anything. And maybe if they did it enough, eventually they wouldn't need it anymore." They still needed convincing. Connor turned to Alex for help. "Alex, do you have any rubber bands on you?" Connor asked. I may have some hair ties in my bag," Alex said. She put her bag on the floor and searched through it, accidentally knocking the glass slipper out onto the floor. The clank echoed through the throne room. The twins panicked. It was as if time had frozen. Sleeping Beauty and her husband and the advisor grew very tense. "How did you get that?" Sleeping Beauty asked. "It's Queen Cinderella's glass slipper," the advisor said. No, it's not what you think," Alex said, quickly putting it back into her bag. "We didn't steal it," Connor said. "Guards!" King Chase shouted. A few guards from behind the twins suddenly awoke and became alert. "Seize them!" the king shouted. "Here we go again," Connor said as the guards sprinted towards them. He grabbed Alex's wrist and pulled her into a run. "Your Majesty," Alex pleaded to Sleeping Beauty, "we've come to borrow your spindle. We're collecting objects for the wishing spell." Sleeping Beauty stood about to speak, but the twins couldn't wait around to hear what she had to say. They were running around the throne room in circles, barely missing the extended hands of the guards to grab onto them. Alex and Connor ran through a set of open doors leading out of the throne room. They had no idea where they were going, but they knew they had to move. They had been through too much to let the guards catch them this time. "I'm so tired of being chased," Connor yelled. They ran down hallway after hallway, making sharp turns where they could to throw off the guards. They were moving so fast that the beautiful architecture and artwork of the castle was nothing but a blur. Suddenly, the hallway that they came to was a dead end. "Now what are we going to do?" Alex asked. "Quick, in here," Connor said, and he pulled her through the closet. A closed set of doors. They found a stone staircase that ran up the side, and they went up it. It spiraled higher and higher until the twins wondered if it would ever end. And then they were climbing to an impossible height. They must have been headed straight to the tallest tower in the castle. They reached the very top of the stairs and found a big black door. They rushed through it and immediately locked it from the other side. "Now where are we?" Connor asked and looked around. The twins were standing in the large circular room with tall windows. There were violet drapes and a lavender rug. A balcony wrapped around the entire room. Only 2 pieces of furniture were in the room. An enormous bed and a spinning wheel made from dark wood. "Connor," Alex said softly, "I think we're in Sleeping Beauty's room, the room that she slept in for 100 years. Connor walked over to the bed. There was a beautiful engraving on the headboard that said, "For 100 years she slept. The hearts of her people she kept. So they awaited with patience for the bliss of true love and true love's first kiss. Alex went to the spinning wheel, but the spindle was gone. The spindle isn't here, Alex said. I don't understand. The man who wrote the journal promised Sleeping Beauty he would return it after he used it. Is it not here? Or did he just not return it because the spell didn't work? Connor asked. The lock on the black door began to rattle as someone from the other side unlocked it. Hide! Alex whispered. She and her brother dove behind the bed. The black door swung open. The twins expected to see clunky boots of the guards, but instead, they saw a pair of pink heels. Is that... Alex whispered. Is that what? Ouch! Connor hit his head hard on the bottom of the bed. You can come out from there, Sleeping Beauty said. The twins couldn't tell if it was a trap. I've called off the guards, Sleeping Beauty added. No one's going to hurt you. The twins slowly crawled out from under the bed. We didn't steal the slipper, Alex said. It's hard to explain, but I promise we're not thieves. Sleeping Beauty nodded. I believe you. You do? Connor asked. He was stunned, because if I were you, I would totally think we were thieves. Sleeping Beauty smiled at them and took a seat on the bed. So you two were after the wishing spell? The twins nodded self-consciously. It's a really long story, Connor said. I'm sure, Sleeping Beauty said. And you've come to ask my permission to borrow the spindle from my spinning wheel, haven't you? The twins guiltily nodded again. Sleeping Beauty laughed to herself. You know, not too long ago, a man came to my castle and asked me to borrow it, she said. At first, I was completely against the idea, but he convinced me. How do you manage that? Alex asked. He told me about the wishing spell and how he had traveled to another world and fallen in love and was desperate to return. And being somewhat of a romantic myself, I let him humor me with his story, she said, and her smile faded into the back of a contemplative expression that they had seen at first. And then he started describing this world to me, a place of machines and technology, a place of enormous structures and lands and people unlike any I had ever seen. And I believed him. Why? Alex asked. Because I had dreamed about this place, Sleeping Beauty said. It's complicated, and even I don't understand it, but while I was under that horrible spell, I dreamed about the place that he's describing. I dreamed about so many things, and I had just assumed that it had come from my imagination. I never mentioned a word of it to anyone, so I knew he had to be telling the truth. Did he ever return it? Alex asked, desperate to know. Did the spell work for him? Sleeping Beauty studied the twins' face. You're from there, aren't you? She asked. And you're trying to find a way home. Alex and Connor didn't have to respond. She already knew it was true. She reached under one of the pillows on the bed and withdrew a metal spindle. The twins felt their spirits soar. There it was. The man had returned it. The spell must have worked for him. All I'm going to ask in return is that you also return it when you're done, Sleeping Beauty said and handed it to Alex. As I'm sure you can imagine, it has sentimental value for me. The twins were beaming. Now they knew getting home was a possibility. They knew that they were not trapped in the land of stories. We're just a couple of strangers, Alex said. Why are you being so kind to us? There are many things that are out of my control, Sleeping Beauty said, and her smile faded again. So I like to help as much as I can, when I can. She stood and walked outside onto the balcony. The twins followed her. Although the kingdom wasn't in the best condition, the view was spectacular. Alex and Connor could see the entire kingdom and parts of others. The ocean sparkled in the distance, and a beautiful waterfall could be seen in the mountains nearby. It was so beautiful they forgot how high up they were. This proves to be the most beautiful kingdom in all of the kingdoms, Sleeping Beauty said. The rolling green hills, the wild flowers, the rivers that used to flow, they're all just memories now. Even the natural beauty of the land was put under rest with that awful curse. Will things ever get better? Alex asked. Well, I certainly hope so, Sleeping Beauty said. Can I tell you a secret? She asked the twins, receiving eager nods. I haven't slept since Chase woke me with a kiss. The twins were shocked. Yikes, Connor said. You must be exhausted. Well, after sleeping for a century, I'll be quite rested for a while, Sleeping Beauty said. And I promised myself, well, I promised the kingdom, that I wouldn't rest until it was restored to its original state. Had my parents just let me die as the curse originally intended, none of this would have happened. So I'm prepared to spend the rest of my life, the life that they ensured, making things right again. Alex and Connor felt sorry for the young queen. They'd always been so distracted by the thought of the cursed sleeping kingdom that they never thought about the responsibility a monarch would face putting it back on its feet. I suppose that's why the wishing spell has always intrigued me, Sleeping Beauty said. It's proof that if somebody wants something enough and they're willing to put in the work for it, they can achieve great things. I keep the spindle as a reminder that even the worst curse cast by the most powerful enchantress can eventually be overcome. The kingdom is very lucky to have a queen like you, Alex said. A weaker person would have given up.
Try the rubber band trick, Connor told her. I promise you won't regret it.
I will, Sleeping Beauty smiled. It's probably time that you head out. I may believe you, but convincing my husband and the royal advisor of your innocence won't be easy. Follow me. I know a secret way out of the castle. The twins left the castle feeling inspired by Sleeping Beauty. The fairy tale had always romanticized the bravery of the young prince and the horror of the curse that had been cast upon the land, but it failed to mention what a strong and brave woman Sleeping Beauty truly was.
Aw, that's nice. Oh, look, it's only 7:42. These chapters are chugging along. The next chapter is about 20 pages. Maybe I could do it. I think I could do it. Let's see what we got. Let's give it a go, right?
Chapter 15, The Northern Kingdom. Alex and Connor traveled into the Northern Kingdom by boat, a first for the twins. They found a fisherman just about to travel up the river into the kingdom and persuaded him to let them come aboard. Alex said that they were lost and pretended to cry. She was very convincing, too. Connor, however, was not. He tried to join in on the performance, and things just became awkward. Thankfully, the fisherman allowed them to travel with him anyway. The boat was small and flat and had just enough room for the three of them. It traveled perfectly along with the river's current, so they didn't need to row. The twins were enjoying riding and were able to appreciate the scenery, pointing out every riverside village that they saw. It was nice to travel without fear of wolves or ogres running up behind them. The Northern Kingdom was very misty and cool. The twins could tell that it was the type of place that would become freezing in the winter. The kingdom was covered with grassy fields and several bodies of water. An icy, steep mountain range bordered the north. The boat traveled along the river and poured into Swan Lake, which was appropriately inhabited by many swans and other birds. Snow White's palace sat on the edge of Swan Lake. It was short but wide, with tan marble walls, dark green domes, and several colorful stained glass windows, including an especially large one shaped as a bright red apple.
What's up with all the apple tributes? Connor asked. Didn't the apple almost kill Snow White? Why does she have it displayed every chance she gets?
I suppose it's symbolic for the kingdom, like a cross in a church, Alex said, giving her best educated guess. There were no towns or villages near the palace. It had been built away from everything else and was isolated in a world of its own. It seemed like such a lonely place. Alex had spent some time with her nose in the journal, rereading everything that she could just in case she missed anything. She put it away and began searching the shore until she finally spotted what she was looking for. Excuse me, sir, Alex said to the fisherman. Can you please drop us off at that riverbank? The fisherman steered the boat in that direction, and the twins got off and said goodbye to him.
Why are we getting off here? Connor asked. The palace is that way.
Connor, I'm tired of explaining everything to you. Here, she said, and handed him the journal. He read the pages that she had been looking over during the trip on the boat. Good morning. Snow White's palace overlooks Swan Lake, and a part of the lake flows into the moat circling the palace, which works to the advantage of anyone trying to sneak into the palace unnoticed. There's a hidden gate at the bottom of the palace, and a moat that runs right through it. It's right by the dungeon and is used to transport prisoners into and out of the palace by boat. It's easy to swim under the gate and then climb up onto the dock inside. The glass coffin is in a large storage room that used to be used by the Evil Queen as a private chamber on the 3rd floor. On the 2nd floor, you'll find a large portrait of the Evil Queen herself just past the grand staircase of the main entrance. The portrait is actually a secret door that leads up to the chamber. Travel at night, so it's difficult for anyone to spot you in the water. But note that Swan Lake's waters are very deep and can be rough after sundown. Use something as a flotation device, like a log or a piece of wood. Hey, how are you, Jacob? Welcome to our quiet mornings where we read. No slime, just reading. Alex was standing next to a log that had washed ashore on the riverbed, and she gestured down to it. See? Alex said. Gotcha, Connor said. The twins waited for nightfall to cross the river to the palace. They carefully placed the log into the river and then entered the water themselves. It was unbearably cold. Connor made a high-pitched, gasping sound as soon as he was waist-deep. Woo! It's so cold I think we may be twin sisters now, he said through rattled teeth. I don't think I've ever been this cold in my entire life. Just keep thinking. We only have 2 more items left to collect and then we'll be home, Alex said, shivering herself. He didn't make a comment. I just know that Jacob is a Slimer. I saw him enter and I know he's a Slimer. Jewels from Snow White's coffin and the saber from the deepest sea, Connor repeated to himself. Jewels from Snow White's coffin and the saber from the deepest sea. Nope, I'm still cold. They held onto the log and drifted on the current to the palace. Having the log was a good call, since the water was very choppy and the twins were getting tired just by holding on to it. They probably would have drowned without it. The closer they got to the palace, the more soldiers they saw marching around the grounds. There are so many soldiers, Connor said through shivering teeth. It's because of the Evil Queen, Alex said. I doubt that there was this much surveillance when the man from the journal came. The twins submerged themselves completely whenever they thought a soldier might be able to see them. They steered the log into the palace's moat, careful not to make a splash or cause too many ripples. They had to circle the palace twice, but eventually they found the secret gate. They let go of the log and swam under the gate. It was a much deeper dive than they had originally thought, and Connor came to the surface on the other side, gasping for air. He treaded water for a moment, waiting for his sister to surface, but she didn't. Alex? Connor asked, looking for her in the water. Alex! Connor dove back underwater. He found Alex struggling under the gate. One of the straps of her bag had caught when she swam under it. She was stuck, and she desperately needed air. Connor swam down to her and yanked her bag as hard as he could to set his sister free, but it wouldn't budge. He tugged harder, and the strap finally ripped off. He helped Alex get to the surface. She was breathing harder than he had ever heard her breathe before. She had been seconds away from drowning. Connor helped her over to the dock, and they both climbed on top of it. They were both so alarmed that they had forgotten how cold they were. Thank you, Alex said when she caught her breath. That was really brave of you. I didn't have a choice, Connor said. You had all the wishing spell items in your bag. Alex hit him playfully and they laughed quietly. They were drenched and their jaws were chattering so hard that the sound of it echoed around them. The only way out was through the stone doorway. The twins peered through it and saw a long hallway. At one end was a spiral staircase leading down, to the dungeon they assumed, and the other was a spiral staircase leading up. They chose the staircase leading up. It led straight to the other hall with a steamy odor in the air. It was very humid inside this part of the palace, and the twins soon walked by an open door and saw why. Look, it's the laundry room, Alex said. The room was full of large steaming tubs of water, and several garments and sheets were hung up to dry around the room. It's past working hours, so the room was empty. I have an idea, Alex said and darted inside. What are you doing? Connor asked her, she started digging through a pile of what Connor hoped were clean clothes and linens. If the grounds outside are any indication, I bet the halls of the palace are swarming with soldiers, she said. Anne, Connor said, we're going to seem very suspicious walking around soaked to the bone in our t-shirts and jeans, she explained. She pulled out 2 dresses and 2 lacy caps from the baskets. No way, Connor said, realizing what she intended to do with them. Absolutely not. Connor put your pride aside and get dressed. We've come too far to get caught now, she said, pulling one of the dresses over her head. The guys at school can never know about this, Connor said with a very serious face. The only way out is up, Elsie whispered. A leap of faith. Have some milk. Thank you for the Rent reference. If your friends find out you traveled into the fairy tale world, I doubt this would be what they were most interested in hearing about, Alex said. The twins got dressed and looked almost identical in the same outfit. They wrapped their wet clothes and bags in a towel and then carried the towel to look busy. They journeyed higher into the palace, perfectly disguised as two maids working the night shift. The palace had beautiful marble floors and walls on the inside as well. The stained glass windows were even more beautiful with the moon shining through them. Alex was right. Every hall and corridor was under constant watch by soldiers. Connor was too embarrassed to look any of them in the eye. Geez, take it your throat is feeling better. My throat is actually not feeling better, and that's why I put lemon in my water this morning. I thought it might make it feel better. Autumn and I were talking about this, actually. We think that moving away for so long and then coming back, now that spring has sprung, we're having allergies for the first time in our lives because we're not used to the new plants here. And I think it's causing allergies, you know? I've never had allergies before in my life, but there's a lot of pollen out there that I'm not used to, having been in New York City for so long. And this is my first spring not in New York in 15 years, so... Wait, but when did you move back? I moved back in October. Yeah. I don't know. It's what it feels like, but I've never had allergies, so I can't really say what allergies are like. I don't have any experience with them. Alex and Connor found the grand staircase in the middle of the palace. They climbed it to the second floor and began scanning the halls for a portrait of the evil queen. Like Cinderella's palace, there were portraits of past rulers framed on the walls and statues of all 7 of the dwarves that had helped Snow White. How do we know what the evil queen looks like? Connor asked her. We've never seen her before. Oh, we'll just have to guess, Alex said. They walked past a portrait of a woman sitting in a garden. All the plants and flowers were bright around her, and she wore a long dress and a dark gown. The woman was beautiful, but she had a blank and cold expression on her face. That's her, Alex said. Supposedly it's going to be a really bad allergy season because of all the rain. Yeah, that's what a lot of people have been saying. It happens. When I moved to Hawaii, my allergies were bad. I acclimated in time to move again. I know. Yeah. There was something about the woman's eyes in the portrait that made Alex sure of it. They were beautiful, but they seemed empty, as if all the happiness had been drained out of her soul. Alex waited for 2 soldiers to leave the hall and then tried pulling on the portrait. It was stuck. She pulled harder, and it still didn't budge. Are you sure that's it? Connor asked. 100%, Alex said. She gave it another good tug, and the portrait swung away from the wall like it had opened a door. Behind the portrait was a wooden ladder that went up to the 3rd floor. Nice one, Connor said and gave his sister a high five. The twins climbed up the ladder and found the back of another secret door. The twins entered the storage room from the chamber behind an exact replica of the portrait they had just gone through on the 2nd floor. The whole room was filled with old furniture covered in white sheets and trunks and chests. The portrait the twins had climbed through was the only painting hung on the walls. The rest were stacked in piles or against the walls around the room. Oh, you don't have to be sorry for just body doubling. That's totally fine. Don't even stress at all. Do your makeup. Enjoy. There was a large counter with tubes and vials and glass containers. They had all been emptied, but the twins knew that this must have been where the evil queen had kept her poisons. I don't see the glass coffin anywhere, Alex said. She started uncovering the furniture to try and find it, but it wasn't in the room. The coffin isn't here, she said, feeling a rush of panic come over her. Let's just look around. Look around for what? Connor asked. For anything, Alex yelled, frustrated and upset. Try to find anything that says where the coffin may have been taken. The twins searched the room from top to bottom. They looked through all the trunks and cases, but found nothing that gave sign of where it may be. There were so many years of memories packed away in this room, it was impossible to tell what had belonged to the evil queen or to Snow White or to the rulers before them. Alex was going through a stack of parchments. She found interesting handwritten letters among them that she couldn't help but read. The first had masculine handwriting that said, "Dear Everly, I love you more than birds love the morning sun. Every second I'm away from you is a moment wasted. I'm yours forever, Mira." The next was written by a woman and said, "Dearest Mira, the last thing that I think about is you before I sleep, and the first thing I think about when I awake, and the time in between is filled with longing to be in your arms. My heart is ever yours and yours alone, Evelyn." The letters between the two lovers continued, and the handwriting on the next letter seemed rushed. "Evelyn, it's the cruelest punishment possible to be kept from you. Not one touch of your skin or kiss of your lips has made my soul hurt. I'm hollow without you. I will save you from this wickedness. I swear it. Mira." Alex could see tiny circles on the paper. Teardrops, she figured. The letters were wrinkled from being held so tight. "Mira, the thought of being with you again is what keeps my heart beating. Every day is a day spent searching for a way to be with you. I live for you. I love you with every breath that I take. Evelyn." They were short but so passionate. Alex felt her heart beating faster after she read them. She looked for more, but found none. "Alex," Connor said, "come take a look at this." He was going through the paintings stacked against the wall and had found one that made his heart drop. Connor pulled a large portrait out from the stack. It was of a tall, grizzled man with a bushy brown beard. He wore a large coat and held a crossbow. "That must be the evil queen's huntsman," Alex said. "I bet," said Connor, "but look closer." Alex took a second look and saw, partially hidden behind the huntsman in the portrait, was a little girl. She had bright green eyes and hair so dark that it seemed purple. "It can't be," Alex said. The twins felt sick to their stomach. It was the woman that they had seen in Red Riding Hood's castle. Her features and her hair color were too distinctive for it not to be. "So, is she the huntsman's daughter?" Alex said. "And I'm sad that I can't stay because of a 10 a.m. meeting. Hope to see you all later." "Oh, bye, Addie. See you later." Did I miss something? I feel like I missed something. I must have missed something. Sorry, Addie. I don't know what I missed. "She must be," Alex said. "I didn't even know he had a daughter," Connor said. "What does she want with the wishing spell?" Alex thought about it. She barely knew anything about the huntsman. She knew nothing about his daughter. With the wheels spinning in her head, coming up with different possibilities, a horrifying thought came to her. "Oh, I just apologize for being absent lately." "Oh, no need to apologize, darling. We're totally chill. We're just chatting." Yeah. Emotional support shopper. Get yourself all the sugar. Oh. We love a gushy group. What if she's not collecting for herself? What if she's collecting for the evil queen? Alex said. Connor's face went white. He shook his head. "No," he said. "What would she want with the wishing spell?" "It makes sense," Alex said. She couldn't deny the facts. She escaped from prison for a reason. She has something unfinished, maybe revenge or something bigger, something that she can't complete herself. "What if she needs it for the same reason we do?" Connor asked. "What if she's trying to get into our world?" Well, that idea hadn't occurred to Alex. She looked back at the evil queen on the portrait. Sorry, I have the hiccups. She stared at the painted face and tried to get answers in her lifeless eyes. What could she be planning? The twins heard a set of footsteps outside the chamber. The door was unlocked from the outside, and someone started to open it. "Quick, hide," Connor said. He and Alex jumped inside one of the bigger trunks and shut the lid, leaving it open just a crack so that they could still see into the room. "Your Majesty," a man's booming voice came from farther down the hall, and whoever was opening the door stopped. "Yes, what is it?" said a woman's voice just behind the door. "My men and I have returned," the man said. "We've searched everywhere, and there's still no sign of your stepmother." The twins recognized the voice. It was Sir Grant, the soldier who had made the announcement about the evil queen in the Charming Kingdom during the ball. "Oh?" said the woman. "Your Highness, forgive me for asking again, but you were the last person to see her in the palace before she escaped. Are you sure there isn't anything you could tell us about that night? Any detail or clue or something that she would have given as an idea of where she was going?" Sir Grant asked. I've told you countless times I don't remember anything of the sort, the woman said. I went simply to say a few things that had been on my mind, and once I was done, I left. Your Highness, it's only a matter of time before she strikes again, before she poisons a river, kills half of a kingdom, or something worse, Grant said. You knew her better than anyone else. For your own safety, please inform us immediately if you remember anything. You will be the first I inform if any memories surface, the woman said. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'd like to be alone. Sir Grant returned down the hall. The woman slowly turned the handle of the chamber door and opened it. It was a beautiful woman with the darkest hair and the lightest skin the twins had ever seen. It's Snow White, Alex whispered to Connor and squeezed his arm. She wore a white nightgown and a matching overcoat. She stood in the doorway for a moment, just looking at the room before she entered it. It seemed hard for her to be in the room where so many attempts on her life had been planned. The way she surveyed everything in the room made the twins assume that she hadn't been in this room in a very long time. Snow White entered the room and locked the door behind her. She walked around the room and carefully went through all the things just as the twins had done. She went into a stack of old books, and she went through the pages of one that was black and had a large skull on its cover. Snow White flipped through its pages until she let out a tiny gasp and dropped the book. The twins could see from the book lying open on the ground that she had discovered the page with a recipe for a poison apple. She took a seat on the platform behind her and began crying, burying her face in her hands. The whole situation seemed to have taken a toll on the young queen. We should ask her where the coffin is, Alex whispered to Connor. Are you sure? She seems like she needs a moment, Connor said. Unfortunately, we don't have a moment to spare, Alex said. Alex slowly stood in the trunk and pushed open the lid. Your Majesty, she said softly. Snow White gasped. She was startled and embarrassed that she wasn't alone. Who are you? How did you get in here? She asked. Boy, if we had a nickel for every time someone asked us that, we could afford our own palace to sneak into, said Connor, standing up beside his sister. We don't mean any harm, Miss White. We just need to ask you a question, and then we'll be gone, Alex said. First tell me how you got in here, Snow White said. The portrait, Connor said. There's a secret ladder that leads down to the second floor. Connor, don't give away all our secrets, Alex said. I know that, Snow White said. I used it when I would sneak into rooms as a girl, but how did you know about it? We read about it somewhere, Connor said, waving his hands like the subject wasn't a big deal. You seem like nice children, but you shouldn't be sneaking into places where you don't belong, Snow White said. These are very dangerous times that we live in. Tell me about it, Connor said with a snort. We completely agree, and we promise to never do it again, Alex said. We were just wondering where your glass coffin might be. Snow White looked at them uneasily. It was such a bizarre question. It was moved, she said. To where? Connor asked. Well, I gave it back to the dwarves, Snow White said. It was beautiful, but as you can imagine, it was strange to have a coffin in the palace. That they keep it somewhere in their minds. The twins sighed at the news. The road ahead of them had just become much longer. What on earth would you two want with my coffin? Snow White asked. They looked at each other, not sure what to tell her and what not to tell her. We're on a bit of a scavenger hunt, Alex said, and we're in a bit of a time crunch, you see, because your stepmother may be after the same things that we're after. Snow White looked at them very seriously. Children, my stepmother is a very dangerous woman. If she's after something and you are in her way, she will not hesitate to kill you. She is heartless. If there's any possibility of you crossing paths with her, you must stop whatever you're doing immediately. Becca, I think that you should respond as if you know exactly what they're talking about, and then send us the proof. Thank you. A loud banging came from the door. Your Majesty, are you in here? A soldier asked. The king couldn't find you and is very concerned. Yes, one moment, please, Snow White said, and then she turned to the twins. You two should go. The twins nodded and climbed through the portrait. Promise you'll think about what I've said, Snow White said to them before the portal door shut. Of course, Alex lied. Snow White smiled with relief and left the chamber. The twins decided to exit the palace through the main entrance since they were still disguised as servants. The dwarfs' mines are in Dwarf Forest, which aren't very far from here, Alex said, looking down at the map. Remember, Snow White ran there by foot after the huntsman failed to kill her. Only half paying attention to the chat. Hashtag work. Oh, no worries, Liz. No worries. Becca got a text from an unknown number that was like, hey, how about we go to this together? I said, sounds good. What time? Good, Becca. Good. It's going to be great. We're going back into the dwarf forest, Connor said. Do you have a death wish? We don't have a choice, Alex said. The twins camped out in a safe patch of woods near Snow White's palace and slept for the little night that remained. They hung their wet clothes over a tree branch to dry by the next morning. They began to return to Dwarf Forest. Then they began their return to Dwarf Forest. Alex's bag only had one strap now, but it worked nonetheless. They walked for a good while before they found a driver willing to give them a ride. Are you sure that you want to go in there? It's very dangerous, the driver said. Trust us, we know, Connor said. He gave the driver the coins that he had found in his maid's dress the night before to further persuade him. The cart traveled down the path, past Ugly Duckling Pond, which Alex found incredibly amusing, and into the forest that had been logged. For miles around, they were nothing but tree stumps. It didn't make the twins sad to see all the missing trees. They had seen enough live ones recently to make up the difference. I really hope we don't run into the evil queen, Connor said during the trip. That would just suck. I just hope she doesn't already have the saber from the deepest sea, Alex said. Otherwise, we may have to cross paths. I wonder if she knows about us, Connor said. If she sent the huntsman's daughter to find Sleeping Beauty's spindle and the troll and Goblin King's crown, they must know they were both gone. She would realize sooner or later that someone else was collecting objects for the spell. I hope she doesn't, Alex said, and then let out a sigh. It seems like the longer we're here, the worse it gets for us. Something always comes up that makes it more difficult. Alex's face went pale and her mouth dropped open. She looked as if she had just seen a ghost. What's wrong? Connor asked. You looked as if you just got a B on a pop quiz. He turned to look in the direction of her gaze. In the distance, standing in the middle of a field of stumps, was a tree that instead of growing straight out of the ground, curved and wound around in circles like a large vine. It was an unmistakably curvy tree, the one that their father had told them stories about seeing when he was a kid. You're right, Alex, Connor said. Things always find a funny way of becoming more complex. Chills. Chills. So good. So good! This book is so good! I just got an email that an appointment in January was covered by insurance. Like, thanks. All right. Well, that was fantastic, as usual. And I will see you on another cliffhanger. Listen, what do you want me to do about it? I don't make the book. I didn't write the book. Talk to Chris. All right, I'll see you all later. No, Liz, you cannot read ahead. That's against the rules. You can't start book 2 now because we have to read John's book 2 and then go back to this one after. Liz, you must stop immediately. I must implore you. I must implore you to stop immediately. All right, I'll see you guys later.